What's up, FanDuelers? What's going on? Yeah, it's been a while, and I'm glad to be back. For the past week, even though I was well enough to go to work, uh, I've really been under the weather, bad cough, a lot of chest congestion, and all that. So I really haven't been feeling 100%. And if there's any reason to call out of doing a YouTube podcast or any type of podcast, if you're coughing so much that it's affecting you to talk, then yeah, you're not going to really want to do a YouTube podcast because your cough is really going to get into the middle of the way. But other than that, I hope everybody's okay. I don't think I've really spoke to you guys until since what, right after Labor Day weekend or anything like that. So, but welcome to episode 6, Grade A Fantasy. Episode 6 will pretty much be a review of week 1, FanDuel, of course. We'll preview the pricing that's out already for week 2, and then we'll also do a quick preview of tonight's Denver Broncos, Seattle Seahawks Monday night single game showdown. So, hope everybody had fun playing yesterday. As for me, it was a little bit frustrating, but I can't be too mad. Like I said, if you remember from my video, I did have a lot of tickets that I won over the summer and recently, late August that I was playing for baseball or whatever. So I only put up a little bit of my own money. But a lot of risk and a lot of studs did not work out for me, and we'll definitely get into that into a little bit. But while I'm doing this, if you're following me right now, if you would like to, just open up tonight's, first off, open up FanDuel when you get a chance, and open up tonight's slate so we can take a look at the rosters, because that's going to be the last segment of the video. We're going to go through the review and news and everything like that. So yeah, the slate that I'm talking about, this is also something that I won about 21 satellite tickets. So with yesterday's winnings, I added 9, so I'll have 30 entries in tonight's 1 millionth first contest for the single game. Like I said, it's very hard to really differentiate yourself, but I think that's the fun in single game. That's what makes a single game so fun. Most cases you do hold hands with a bunch of other people. Your best thing to do is do your best to try and get a little different, so you hold hands with less people. If I remember properly, for those who didn't play the millie, if you didn't play the millie, maybe it was a little bit too pricey, $9 per entry, whatever the case is. I think a bunch of people out of the millie that tie, I think if I remember properly, it was either 68 or a 69 way tie for first, and all those people took like $18,000. So, it happens, but I'm not going to be mad at that. Yeah, I know I'm going for a millie, but at the end of the night, if I go for 18,000, I'm still going to be happy. So, but let's review week 1. First off, let's go off with the injuries. And very impactful ones too. First, we'll start with the Sunday night game, even though that wasn't part of the slate, but it definitely will affect the pretty much a good portion of the season. With the thumb injury, and I think Dak Prescott having surgery today, the injury that he suffered against Tampa Bay, he's supposed to be out 6 to 8 weeks. We know Jerry Jones, he's probably going to try and make him rush back and, try and save his season, because by the time Dak gets back, there probably won't be any season. I think it's pretty much done. Like everybody else, I'm not one of those people that like to react off week 1, but with the Cowboys, the depth and loss of talent at wide receiver, now you got backup quarterbacks. I don't know their backup situation. I think they still got, I don't know if they still got Cooper Rush or DiNucci or whoever it was that was there last year playing, but yeah, I think it's pretty much over. And besides, the NFC East was pretty much going to the Eagles anyway. I'm sorry, but yeah, so he's out 6 to 8 weeks. So what does that mean fantasy wise? Most likely you're fading the whatever wide receivers are left. Maybe the backup quarterback, whoever it is, might lean on Dallas's tight end, maybe. But other than that, you are fading and waiting to see how that goes. Defensively, the stream of defense, yeah, they're still pretty decent and they're pretty good. Yes, they showed up against the Bengals, but with T.J. Watt getting injured, T.J. Watt gets sacks, turnovers, fumble recoveries. That takes down Pittsburgh a lot. And we all know torn pecs mean you're pretty much done for the season. So Pittsburgh's defense takes a hit. I mean, they wasn't stacked. They were good. but they're not stacked where they can lose T.J. Watt and survive. And like, oh yeah, we can get T.J. Watt back for the playoffs. No, T.J. Watt not only is he done for the year, but that takes a serious hit to Pittsburgh's defense. Fantasy wise, like I said, with the sacks and forced fumbles he gets, that counts for a lot. Mac Jones for the Patriots, the quarterback for the Patriots, got dinged up, banged up yesterday. And by defense that I told you, Patriots, well, one, a lot of people don't think the Patriots are that good this year anyway, but in Miami, it's never foreboding too well for them anyway. Suffered a back injury. He's the only one that seemed like that had the injury, and they're already like, oh, we'll reevaluate, but he looked like he could be ready for week 2. We'll see about that. Back to the Steelers, Najee Harris suffered, I think what it was, a lower leg, more like an ankle injury. More news on that later, but news was that it was heavily wrapped and iced and bandaged at the end of the game because he got hurt right toward the end of the fourth quarter, I think it was. And yeah, obviously didn't come back for overtime, and he left the stadium like heavily, thickly bandaged. So normally when it's heavily bandaged like that, that could be a high ankle sprain. You're hoping for a low ankle sprain, but like I said, we'll see about that. But if you ask me, besides Jones, all the rest of the injuries that I'm talking about, these guys won't be back next week. Next on the list will be Keenan Allen. He always seems to get dinged up, just like Eckler. They always get dinged up at least. Hamstring. He's pretty much out now. Keenan Allen is not on next week's slate. He is on the Thursday single game because they play the Chiefs. He's out. I don't care what they say. He's out. Obviously, we don't have to worry about him regardless whether he's in or out. He's not on the main slate for Sunday. So, hamstring injury. It happens. And then the one injury I kind of like, yeah, I saw that coming. And sucked that he got hurt. Now he's definitely, I think they're definitely probably going to shut him down at least for the rest of the month. He already had knee issues, and now knee issue and ACL again. Came off limping was Chris Godwin. Somebody that was already battling injuries and then like re-hurt it. You got to shut him down. There's no way he plays next week. Just my opinion, but hey, these players want to play, so it is what it is. For the next segment, now we'll really review, start the review of week 1, where we'll go, I don't know, I'll try a different thing. This is a segment where I go grade A performances, and then I go grade F performances / see me after class. So grade A performances, we'll go with, come on, Devonte Adams looked great. Derek Carr was pretty much looking like Aaron Rodgers when he looked his direction, like the ball was going to go to him. I think he finished with about, according to my notes, 27.3 fantasy points. He just looked amazing. Look for another amazing season from Devonte Adams. I think the happiest performance, because I'm a fan since college, Saquon Barkley. He looked healthy. He looked like he's ready to take on the load. I'm not saying we're waiting for him to get hurt, but let's just hope he doesn't get hurt, okay? 30.4 fantasy points, FanDuel points. Amazing job. Deandre Swift could have had like a 40-point game. He could have been the best player, even better than Mahomes. But, he had a lot of, he had opportunities vultured, Jamal Williams. And that's funny too, because I remember Jamal Williams does vulture some touchdowns from him. But he still had an amazing game. I think he ran for over 155. So Swift had an amazing game, 25 fantasy points. Holy Trinity again. But this time it was Travis Kelce, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Kelce. But obviously we'll focus on Mahomes and Kelce. Mahomes, 5 touchdowns, 34.9 points. Kelce, 22.1. And probably, I think with this game, he now has, because of his performances from last year, I think Justin Jefferson knows he's now on the cusp in that conversation for current best wide receiver in the league. Well, he has to be top 5. But when it comes to fantasy, I think Justin Jefferson is probably right there with Devonte Adams. Justin Jefferson is now, he scored 34.9. Literally torched them. Yes, it was a lot of work in the first half, but it's fantasy. We're not talking about the game. We want fantasy points, and he got 34.9. Pleasant surprise. When he's healthy, he's as good as the top receivers because of just his physical stats and just raw ability. A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts looked for him, 20.5. We'll go to his counterpart in the next segment. Not really his fault, but A.J. Brown, when healthy, can be one of the best wide receivers in the league. and a little pat on the back for me because it was a little bit of a rush patch for me. Michael Thomas was fine. Yeah, he saved his day with 2 touchdowns. But at least it was 2 touchdowns. He didn't save it with like just one. But Jameis aired it down. Thomas wasn't catching short passes. I'm telling you, he's good deep. So have some faith in the man Thomas, right? And James Winston, yes, he could throw you out, but those games they were behind. He's gonna throw that ball. And that was just an honorable mention. But my pat on the back for myself, along with Thomas, I recommended what eventually ended up, I think, the number 2 scoring defense on the slate last night. The Dolphins had 18 points. They fell behind Pittsburgh, who had 26. Yeah, it helped the fact that, block kick, overtime. Yeah, but even without the overtime, Pittsburgh still outscored the Dolphins. But hey, I told y'all, man, I was heavy on the Dolphins, though. Like I said, I had like 53, 56 entries, and the Dolphins were probably in like 30, 35 lineups at least. And also, honorable mention on defense, Minnesota. Minnesota, I think, ended up scoring like 16, 17 or something like that. Didn't have in my notes. I didn't have much of Minnesota, but I was like, let's take that risk. Green Bay could be struggling, which they did. So, those are the honorable mentions, but most importantly, the grade A performances for week 1 to me. Grade F, see me after class. I got 3 names. Kamara, 6.1 points, and then, oh man, that hurt. What really hurt me, and I had him in a lot of lineups, was Mr. Williams, wide receiver for the Los Angeles Chargers. He had 2 points. When he got those 2 points? In the 4th quarter. Trust me, I was watching that game. 4th quarter. Enough said. Only 2 points, but his first points in the 4th quarter. And Keenan Allen got hurt. Man, that was a rough one. That's when I knew, like, my afternoon, I was like, yo, let me just salvage whatever money I can get with my Mahomes and Kelsey and Harden stacks, and then I just go from there. And then also see me after class. I mean, there was another offense that looked like certain teams weren't ready, to be honest. Like, I know a lot of people that just sat during the preseason. I understand you got to protect against injury, but it's a double-edged sword. Like, a lot of teams that kind of relaxed and just wanted to not get hurt and just be ready for the season. It seems like a lot of teams just looked out of whack and just didn't come prepared or ready to play in week 1, and that definitely was Carolina. McCaffrey, 13.4. He saved his day with a touchdown, but it was still a flop. Like, he was literally 95. So a lot of studs did not show up or whatever. So that pretty much hurt right then and there. So, here's the section I like to call the wild cards, shit that you didn't see. Now, obviously, a lot of things changed with training camp and new people moving places. But week 1 definitely had some surprises, game-wise. Like, we had ties, we had teams that had the win and then didn't lose it, and then we had stuff like this. We had Miles Sanders. I love Miles Sanders. He's another one of the favorite of mine. It's him and Saquon that I love seeing succeed just as fans. But they could have been better because you still got Boston Scott and the threat of Jalen Hurts vulturing touchdowns. O.J. Howard came out of nowhere. I damn sure wasn't picking him. And Dontrell Hilliard, when you're finally thinking maybe they might throw the ball to Derrick Henry maybe at least 3 to 5 times, he took all the receptions. He took pretty much the reception work and got 2 touchdowns out of it. So there's a lot of stuff that happened with the vulturing, and you just couldn't do anything about it. I mean, people are going to get vultured, and it's just part of fantasy. So, but there was a lot of variables in week 1, and nothing to overreact. I mean, there's a lot to get disappointed at. But it's just one of those things where it's week 1. Like, yeah, certain things stayed the same. Kansas City, Minnesota. They did, and Minnesota stuck to their guns. Like, they threw the ball. Like, they were throwing the ball. Dalvin Cook was, he was okay, but it was all about Justin Jefferson. And Kirk Cousins getting protection and getting it down the field. Adams was Adams. But yeah, that was pretty much a week 1 preview of that. Now, for the next section, let's review week 2. So things you got to worry about week 2. First off, it's a shorter slate already. I don't know why they set the schedule up like this. Normally it's the first Monday that has 2 Monday night games. Tonight it's only Denver Seahawks. That's the only Monday night game. It's next Monday. That is a Monday night doubleheader. So next Monday night doubleheader is Titans at Buffalo, and then we have Vikings at the Eagles. So that takes one game away from the Sunday slate, along with the Sunday night game, along with next Thursday's game. So instead of 14 games, 13 games, y'all. So that means ownership will be slightly condensed because, there will be games and teams that you're going to want to stay away from. I mean, besides Saquon, you're staying away from the rest of the Giants, pretty much staying away from the Jets. Besides Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, you're probably staying away from Brissett and the Browns wide receivers, stuff like that. So, just giving you a heads up early. Ownership will be condensed. A little quick preview. Oh, and like I said, I think I mentioned it before, but just to make sure, the other game that won't be on the schedule, you won't have the Chiefs on the main slate because they play the Chargers. Like I said, as I mentioned in the injury report, they will play the Chargers this coming Thursday in the next 3-4 days. So, the first thing that grabbed my eye when I was looking at the pricing, because the slate is up for next week, the first thing I noticed, for sure, Devonte Adams, after what you saw week 1, Devonte Adams, way too cheap. Devonte Adams is 8,800. Should be a lot closer to Cooper Kupp, who's at 9,700. I think Devonte Adams should be right there. You should make people have the choice of either picking one or the other. If you set your lineup right, could you possibly have one of these guys or both of them in your lineup? Yeah. Devonte Adams is damn near 1,000 or to be exact, $900 cheaper than Cooper Kupp. So you're gonna most likely, there's gonna be lineups that probably gonna have both of them. So just be on the lookout for that. I think FanDuel slipped up on that one. He should at least have been I thought he was gonna be in the 9,000, just me. Because of his bad game, Christian McCaffrey, he dropped 400, so now he's 9 even. We got Saquon, the biggest jump. Saquon went from a 6,000 or 7,000 player, whatever it was, and he jumped to 8,800. So, like I said, you heard me say in one of the videos, week 1 pricing was very soft. We didn't know what was going to happen. Now that they see the talent, they're pricing them appropriately. So getting Saquon for a steal will not happen again for the rest of the season. If you didn't get on Saquon like I did, it is too late. Now you have to literally pick Saquon and be dedicated to picking it. It's not like Saquon's good, but he's at a decent price that can fit somebody else in. No, now you gotta be dedicated to Saquon. Saquon has to perform for your lineup. Because of his great game, Deandre Swift is now 82K. Lamar is the same price, 8.2K. Didn't have that great of a game, so he's still around the same. Kamara dropped. And when I say he dropped, because Kamara was somebody that I had a lot of. 8.5K. He dropped to 7.2K. Sounds interesting. But he's going against the best rush defense in the past 2-3 years, which is Tampa Bay. So not good. So unless Jameis is gonna plan on throwing more screen passes to him, Kamara's an easy fade. Who do I think is easy chalk? Kyle Pitts. There's no Kelsey there, and I think Kyle Pitts bounces back. I forgot who their matchup was, but Kyle Pitts is now 5.9K. Didn't have a great game. 5.9K down 100 from 6,000. So look for a lot of people to go for Kyle Pitts for next week. I think he'll definitely be chalk now that he's $100 does make a difference, especially with next week with so many studs going up. You're gonna need whatever value you can find. Obviously, I'll go more of a slate review later, but this was just a first look in salaries that caught my eye. Slate review will be later in the week or whatever, obviously, and then obviously with injury news coming out because a lot of people got hurt where they could most likely be ruled out by Wednesday, Thursday, even before the final Friday injury report. Other than that, there was a lot of decent prices with the defense, especially with what you saw week 1. So I'll go over that real quick before we start looking at the Monday night single game. Defenses, with Dak out, I think the chalk pick might be Cincinnati, and Cincinnati's at 3.9K. So that might be the most popular defense. Yeah, the Jets look bad, but they didn't get, smoked by 40-3 or whatever. They did hang in there. Weather helped a little bit. But the Jets at Cleveland, that's still Jacoby said that's not a powerful offense. If maybe the Jets match some of that intensity on the ground, you can pick the Jets at 3.4. The Jags are at home against a struggling any team that didn't look good. Matt Ryan did not look good. So the Jags are the minimum 3K. And this is it. With the notes that I took, there's a lot of options. Okay, now check this out. New England is struggling. They're not as powerful as before. I already gave the warning there's no J.J. Watt. Pittsburgh is the highest costing defense. They're the maximum at 5K. Against New England, I don't know if they put up enough to validate the 5K, but they still can. But like I said, for fantasy purposes, not game purposes, for fantasy purposes, losing Watt does take away, like I said, sacks, fumble recoveries, stuff like that. And then, to tell you the truth, I mean, I might stay away from that because I actually like the team that's right under them better. San Francisco, 4.9K. Yeah, they lost to the Bears, but like I said, they lost to the Bears 19-10. It was an ugly game, low scoring game. The defense did show up. It's just that, and let the Bears back in the game at the end again. But like I said, they still didn't give up 20. So if they could get some interceptions and sacks for fantasy purposes, they still look good. They're at home against Seattle next week, so what can I say? And that's pretty much week 1 review, a quick preview of week 2 and what the schedule is about. Like I said, 2 Monday night games next week. You have 13 instead of 14 games, so a little slight less condensed. Now, it's not going to be as condensed as a couple of weeks in the season where they're going to be 11 games, 10 games when the bye week start. But you'll definitely see a bit of a difference with that one less game. Now we're making some decent timing, so let's just do a quick little preview on tonight's Monday night game. Big game. Well, not big game, but there's a lot of revenge narratives. The final revenge narrative of week 1. We have Denver traveling to Seattle. I have my FanDuel open, and looking at the pricing, obviously Denver's going to be the heavy favorite. I think there was one time that I actually saw the Denver game at plus 290. I think that's I think it's now plus 310 or 320 on FanDuel now. So if you just want a basic money line, that price was high, you better parlay it with some other stuff because now it went even higher. Because I was looking at that game, and I remember when that game opened up at 260 or 270, and then it got to 290, and I think looking at it last night, it got to 310, 320. Not so sure, but I know it went over 300 or it hit 300. But yeah, you got Russell Wilson at 17K. Now the pricing for this game is definitely way more forgiving. There's not a lot of high prices and top prices to pay for, because instantly once you see Russell Wilson at 17, it drops 3,000 and Geno Smith to 14,000. You got Javonte Williams 13.5. Right under him is Metcalf and Penny at 13 and 12.5 respectively. As we scroll down, this is where probably the more interesting selections go. You might want to get different with Melvin Gordon over Javonte Williams, because Melvin Gordon will get some goal line work or get some screen passes from Russell Wilson. Melvin Gordon still has gas in the tank. Don't get me wrong. Yes, I want Javonte Williams because having that was probably the most even split I've ever seen in my life. They were literally 50-50, and if it wasn't 50-50, it was like a 51-49 split between Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. But for single game purposes, you're going to get a little different. You might want Melvin Gordon. But my favorite picks are definitely the wide receivers. Either have both of them or one of them. Yes, they are worth putting as captain. Seattle's secondary is definitely weak. You got Tyler Lockett here at 11.5. You got Jerry Jeudy right on them. So the pricing, you can get people because they're literally like right under each other. The pricing is definitely better, so you can definitely come up with some more comfortable combinations. And then of course, we'll scroll down to like the next third tier players, or you could definitely consider this the third tier of the. Besides KJ Hamler with a questionable knee and ACL injury, he's pretty much iffy. He's at 9,000 even, because Hamler is supposed to be the guy that's going to take over for Tim Patrick, who got hurt, who unfortunately got hurt between week 1 and 2. He went up for a catch, came down, knee buckled, ACL injury. He's gone. But the last we heard, KJ Hamler is expected to suit up, so we'll see about that. Just look for anything. Hopefully, no setbacks during pregame warm-ups happening. But now he is trending in the direction of playing. He's been questionable for a while, but now it's questionable with more like a positive. Most of the week it was more like a questionable, looking like a negative. What's funny is one of my favorite boys that was on the Broncos, but he had to go to Seattle for the trade. Noah Fan is now on Seattle, so that'll be a little funny. I like playing narratives, so I'll definitely have Noah Fan in my lineup. Maybe Gino doesn't see nothing deep and he, gives him a nice little 5-8 yard out or in the middle or whatever. That's how every point's gonna count. Denver's defense is 9-5. Brandon McManus, the kick is 9-5. Like I said, it's the one thing I noticed about the pricing here, definitely way more forgiving, but the Bills and Rams have way more, potential fantasy studs. That's why the pricing was so crazy. Like I said, Josh Allen at 7-5. You got Cooper Kupp right under him at 16. Top two prices are damn near 3,000 away from each other, so definitely way more forgiving. And then of course you got Seattle's defense 8-5. It's a single game. They could get a couple of turnovers. Russell throws interceptions. He doesn't throw a lot, but for a single game situation, Seattle might be worth it. And at 8-5 might help you pay for some more shit at the top. Jason Myers 8-5, and then of course you got your long shots. You got your DJ Dallas, Albert O, Travis Homer. And that's pretty much it. All these guys are 85 to 75. And you ask me, I'm definitely going in the direction of having wide receivers in the MVP spot matched up with Wilson, or have both Judy and Sutton in there. I definitely got to work in Javonte Williams in there as well. But just remember for correlation purposes, people, if you especially in an onslaught, if you want fantasy points to continually grow, hopefully that one person that you pick from the other team does something. Because if you pick the onslaught, one, you need them to score a decent amount of points. You're looking for 3, maybe 4 touchdowns. Wide receiver, you have to correlate with the quarterback, and more than likely, if you want to. But it does make sense, because for every time, I think that Denver's good enough to move the ball, and even if they don't kick even though if they don't get the touchdown, they're good enough to kick a lot of field goals. So Brandon McManus, and then McManus also correlates with the touchdown. You put the quarterback, Russell Wilson, you're really hoping if he gets that one TD scramble like Josh Allen did, then he separates himself. Because remember, in the MVP spots, the 1.5 multiplier, what used to be 4-point TD pass now turns to 6. And if he throws to your quarterback, that's automatically a 12-point boost, plus the yards and yada, yada, yada. Just make sure you do your best to correlate as much as you can. Like I said, I think with the pricing, there's a lot of options to go with. Like I said, a lot of people want Javonte Williams, but like I said, this is a single game situation, and if there's anything that yesterday proved, not everything is going to go as planned. Like I said, Melvin Gordon is not washed up. I don't care what none of y'all say. Melvin Gordon is not washed up. You got a solid guy who's still at a decent age, who can still perform. And if people think he's washed up and he's not going to get battered and bruised of the content of Javonte Williams, then he could come in and grab a screen pass and take it to the house. He still has that capability. So do not disrespect Melvin Gordon. I would not fade Melvin Gordon. And yeah, that's a quick preview or whatever of this Sunday night slate. Like I said, Denver's the heavy favorite, so this is definitely a game that I will have. It's just what's the combination I'm going to set up with the Denver onslaught. When I say onslaught on FanDuel, 4-1. And yeah, you're gonna have to pick a couple of excuse me. As you can see, I'm about 85-90%, still not 100, but I think that's the first time I coughed on this video. But yeah, but definitely do your due diligence, and I guess I mean, if KJ Hamler does somehow get ruled out, then yeah, just up your percentages of ownership with both wide receivers, with Sutton and Judy, and then you just go from there. And maybe KJ Hammer being out, that opens up stuff for Albert O. Like I said, Russell does like throwing into the flat for screen pass or whatever, so don't worry if you put in Melvin Gordon for, like I said, single game situation. anybody just about viable, but there will be some fades. For me, it'll be more on the Seattle side, but you're gonna need a Seattle player to do something. With the price and whatever, you will be able to fit like some decent Denver pieces, Denver defense, and maybe even get either Lockett or Metcalf in your lineup. But other than that, guys, yeah, I'm back. I'm gonna try and get these videos back up to you guys as soon as possible. Good luck tonight. Like I said, I'm feeling a whole lot better. Good luck tonight, and time for me to start doing my own setups. But as you can see, it was a crazy week one. So let's hope this is a more normal. But hey, what's fun about having a normal game? Let's see what craziness ends the week one. So but yeah, I'm just gonna be chilling tonight. Not really rooting for anybody. It's just me, enjoying the day, enjoying the night, and just wanting to see a good game. And this shirt. Don't worry about the shirt. Don't worry about the shirt. Don't worry about the shirt. But yeah, just here worried about a good game and just wanted to see what's going on. And review week one, preview week two, and I'll get more in depth about week two later in the week. But yeah, I'm back. Voice is a whole lot better. One cough in the video, can't complain about that. And Great A Fantasy signing off. Like, subscribe, notification button. Episode 6 is in the books. Thanks for listening. Good luck tonight.